All right, we're back again. We've had a bunch of hours for this to dry out and set up a bit. And it's getting pretty good. I've gone and cleaned up some of the smudges and whatnot in there. Now we're going to get ready to make the roof. And I've made a little paper cutout, which I think is really good for checking your scale. And it's based somewhat on the size of this. And it's going to go something like this. But let me show you. It's just basically a paper shape based on the sizes of what I have been building. Very simple, just with a little blue tape holding it together. And this would just give me an idea of the scale and whether or not it's going to work for me. And I think that's going to work. I was thinking of doing a widow's walk on top. Looks like it's going to need a window here. I might even pitch it, but because the original one actually shows a curved roof with a widow's walk. Curved mansard, I think, is what it would be. But that's a little harder to make. And looking at this, I think it's too tall. I think it needs to be about there if we're going to do this shape. All right. Anyway, we're going to cut out some slabs and we can look at this a little more. I've got my slabs all ready to go. I just want to cut them out and let them set up a little more. So I'm going to clean up my space, cut out some pieces, have them ready to go. And then when we come back, we'll start gluing pieces together. How's that sound? Fun? Cool. Hang on. Stand by. So now it's time to cut out, using our templates, the pieces we're going to build for the roof. We've got our slabs that we've had for a while now. They're still pretty wet because we've kept them pretty, sealed up. So they're a little too wet, actually. They're too wet to actually use today. But we took our template that was the roof, we laid it out, we've made our marks. We've got those parts, and there's a couple of these parts. Sorry about the noise, we're right out here next to the road. Not much we can do about that. Let's go ahead and cut this one here. I'm going to combine and use one line for two pieces. One line, one edge for two pieces. Come on, hold still. Alright. So, we've got our shapes laid out. Let's put this on the board. Alright, so we're going to cut these out. We're going to have the board ready to go. Put them on. Dun, 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 dun. There we go. And a couple of quick cuts. There we go. cut here. Forgot to put a line on this one, so we're going to do this, so they're both the same. And we're going to lightly cover these, set them back in the other room. And those are going to have to dry out a bit. We'll leave them lightly covered so they can dry evenly. We'll probably come back tomorrow and work on this. We don't have much time. Our sculpture is getting a little dried, especially the part that the roof sits on. So tomorrow's the day to finish this roof, do this roof, and get it on there. In the meantime, we're going to brainstorm what kind of textures we want on the roof. Do we want to carve shingles into the roof? Do we want it to be wood planks? What do we want it to be? So I haven't really thought about that until just now. The one thing I can do is I could make this roof as a separate part on the tabletop and add it like I added one of the cubes. That might be the way to go, so that way I have more control. I'm not always leaning over the piece of artwork, potentially risking damaging the artwork. I also have to build the deck for the second floor. That has to be built. I'll build it in the same manner as I built the first one. I'll build it over here. I'll glue it on. Anyway, let's let this dry out. I'm going to go do other things. As you can see, I've got all these glazing tests to do, or tests and samples and whatnot, and we're going to be throwing some bolies this week. So a lot to do in the studio this week, and there's always cleanup, there's always moving things around, there's always prep work, there's always prepping kilns. It's a ceramic studio. All right, thanks for joining us. I'll see you again in another day for this particular project. And eventually we're going to start shooting other projects and stuff we do in the studio, plus the other studios. So anyway, today we're working on this, or this time we're working on this for this series, and we're building our blockhouse number 1. All right, thanks. And we're back. We're working on the roof. We're putting the roof together. I actually put most of the roof together already because, frankly, I just whipped it together and I did it extremely loosely. I had a very, very, very loose idea of what I was going to do, which kind of changed since yesterday, which changed since the day before, which changed right up until actually I was assembling it, and this is what we have. This roof. This is the roof. Can you see it? I don't know. Anyway, it's almost finished. I have one more side to put on. It's very loose, not very rectangular roof. It's not supposed to be rectangular. It's supposed to be kind of all over the place, which it is. And we made it pretty crazy and wampus. And that's okay, because that's what I want. I don't want a uniform roof. And we're going to fit this last side. So I cut these side pieces a little big so I could just plug them right in. And you can see it's rounded and curved. Well, maybe you can't, but I'll give you a closer look in a minute here. It's rounded and curved and all over the place and not square and very whimsical, I think is the term we're looking for. Very whimsical. I could probably use thinner slabs than I am using, which would make it a lot lighter, which would be not a bad thing. It's be kind of heavy at the top of this piece. So I could have taken my rolling pin out and lightened them up a little bit, and probably will do that in the future. Let's see how that looks. Oh, that'll be fine. So you see, I'm just working extremely loosely here. Working fast, working loose, working wild. Not trying to be retentive about this in any way. Just trying to get it done and get it done well. I'll use a lot of slip, so it'll really bind this together. It will work the edges pretty good. So I'm gonna have to make more slip here soon, since this stuff's getting a little bit down to the bottom of the bucket. But we're also getting to the end of this particular build, and starting to think about the next construction. This one will still have, you know, lots and lots to do once it's constructed. It'll have a lot of colorants to put on, from underglazes to glazes to other finishes. Yeah, so look at that, I'm slopping on quite a bit. This is going to wet these corners up pretty good. And it's not all, the clay is not all that dry. It's firm, but it's not all that dry. I mean, I don't know if you can see, it's just pushing right in there. And we're going to wiggle it, work it around. Take our tool and jam it. Go. And work it. And work it. And work it. So it's kind of tricky then. I can't push too much on this piece, but I can push a little bit. Ah! One thing I can also do is weld these corners together. So basically mixing the clay from one piece to the next is kind of welding it together like you would if it was a piece of steel. So I can pull this off because I have a lot of support right here underneath, and I'm going to be fooling around with this quite a bit. So the trick to doing this is to make sure you don't end up with air bubbles in there. So you're going to push it all back together. The one thing about welding is if you start out with all the right amount of clay and you smush it together, you still end up with all the right amount of clay. You just now have to flatten it back out into the position you want it. So that's what we're going to do here. Still all the right amount of clay. I could even weld these corners up here if I wanted to. There we go. So you can see I'm working pretty loose, pretty quick, just to get interesting shapes. To me, it's not so much about how finished this surface is right now, because I'm going to do a lot of texturing to it and actually carve in tiles, roof shingles, tiles, whatever you want to call them. I'm going to try to make this look like a European stone roof. All right. So we're pretty good right now. It's definitely put together. So, and it's fairly solid. So here we go. Kind of what that looks like. That's that surface I just worked on. You can see it's not square. I even put an overhang on it, and these pieces will come out when it sets on top. So we're going to let this firm up. We do that a lot, I guess, don't we? We're going to let this firm up and then clean it up a little bit. And then I'm going to have to do work around the inside here, and I might install it, or I might texture it, or decorate it. And then install it. Decorate it, then install it. I'm leaning towards install it and then decorate it, because that's easier to do that way. All right. So putting it on a board. I'm going to cover that up. So by covering this up and not allowing more moisture to escape, which is not what we want at this time, the clay, the whole piece will eventually seek its own equilibrium so that it's constant moisture throughout. And that will, in its own way, be drying out. But in its own way, it'll also be meaning that it's like one contiguous piece of wet clay, not dry, wet, dry, wet. so it's easier to deal with. We're going to get these guys covered up. All right. Still have some leftover pieces from earlier, which we need to save because we still have a patio to build. I still have another big slab out there too, but these are all kind of at the right dryness for making that patio, so I don't really want to lose these. All right, little quick, come on. Little squirt, just to keep it viable. All right. Now I want to show you another piece I have here in the studio that's finished. It's just waiting to install the smokestack, as it were. Just waiting to install the smokestack. So this is a piece I finished a little while ago, and have finally finished decorating it. And all I got to do now is install the smokestack on the roof. So I keep a bucket of water in here. I don't know if you can see it, but it's easy. The sink's out in the other room. It's easy enough to have a bucket of water right here. Keep my hands clean for fiddling with things. Cleanup is never done. There's always cleanup and more cleanup and moving things and knolling. Always be knolling. Look it up if you don't know what it means. All right, I'm going to show you this other piece here, and that'll give you an idea of what the roof looks like and the texture we're probably going to put on this one, and also what's possible for doing on the outside here for finishes and colorants. Kind of see the texture of the roof on there. Right on. And on this particular one, this is the chimney that I have to install, which will just take a metal pin and it'll be like that. Kind of a bigger size. Yeah. So anyway, that's one of the pieces I've done. And this is a tabletop art piece as well, three-dimensional. Again with the architectural, but also I like whales. And all right, like I said, we got to firm it up. We got to wait some more. Again with clay, hurry up and wait, hurry up and wait. So it's all about the right dryness. In this case, it's all about the equalization of the moisture in the clay, so we can do the work we want to do on it without doing too much damage. All right, thanks for joining us. We'll be back. Or what's the term I want to use? Stand by. Well, welcome back. We're working on Blockhouse 1 still. We're working on the roof, the final part. I've gotten quite a bit done already. Sorry if I skipped ahead. We're actually putting roof shingles on, which is very simple. We're just taking our scribe tool and drawing them in with a certain overlap pattern and trying to make it semi-realistic, but yet fantasical. So we're working in a very loose manner so as not to look too contrived. And as you can see, we just take our tool and they've started up the machine again. Sorry about that. They have a piece of equipment they're moving around outside. Quiet. yet again. So basically we're just using a needle tool to scribe into the surface of the damp clay the texture of roof shingles. Now we'll let this dry to a certain hardness and then we'll work on it again. Either we draw it, come back in, or sand off the edges, or we do other things, and we'll let that dry. And that'll give us a very playful-like look of roof shingles, whether that be stone or wood or whatever. I think these are more of a stone tile myself. A very loose, broken slate, as it were. I'm finding I have to clean off the needle tool after each one. And as you do more, you get specific tendencies to. So I'll do a line here for you. So I'm doing, basically all I'm doing is a same repetitional pattern over and up, over and up. Trying to leave it at a certain point that the next layer will come in. So we're not trying to erase lines, because erasing lines is not easy to do. Anyway. Alright, that's what we're doing. Now, you can see we built a little dormer here. Put that together this morning. It's going to take a little more to work. We're going to put a window in here. We're going to put roof tiles on that. Maybe even thin this edge out a little bit. Probably not. More work to do on that. More work to do on the roof. Haven't decided if I'm going to put a chimney on here. Although I am partial to chimneys, especially cute little decorative ones. Where'd it go? There it is. Maybe one like this. Something like that. Yeah. I should make another one of those. I should actually make a full series of those. Alright, I gotta keep going here. Overlap corner tiles first. And then the field tile. You'll find that by doing this, they don't have to look perfect. In fact, it's better if they're not perfect. Because if they're all over the place, the eye can't go, oh, that one's out of place. So you're better off working a little bit loose and making it up as you go. And you can look back and see if you've forgotten any down the road. There we go. And don't forget to play around with it as you go. Do different things. Like I added an extra one in the middle here, so it breaks up the pattern. Kind of enjoyed that. We'll do another one here even. Should have been doing that down below. Could always add one in. Down here. And maybe one down here. And over here. You don't really ever want to have them in line. Anyway, so that's what we're doing today. We're going to finish this up. It's going to dry out some more. I got shingles on the little cupola to do. And when this gets to a certain point, we will be gluing it on the main piece there, which is all protected up. Anyway, that's what's next. Okay, it's time. It's time to put the roof on. We've got our little roof finished. I've done a lot of work on it to finish the texture and the look. This is what it looks like now. Let me get you real close. All right, and it's ready to go on. We need to get it on tonight. We're in the studio late tonight getting this done. We've kind of had a lot of things going on in the other shop, so had to work late in here tonight. And here we are. I finally got this done through a series of endeavors. It's all about texturing and detail. So now I've test fitted it already once, and I kind of know about where it. Not a lot of slop in this whole assembly. It only fits in one area. There's a little bit of fit back and forth, but other than that, it's pretty much a straight-on shot. And we're gonna get this going here. All right, we want some mookie. All right, put a bit there. Let's get a little more on that. All right, work that in. All right. Pretty much got that much on there. Front to the front. Ever so gentle. Right, left, front, back. Wiggle, 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 wiggle. All right, how do we look in the back? I get these to come forward a little bit. There we go. It's all about how you hold your lip, right? Get this right. Now we're going to stand back and look and see if we got it right. It definitely has a little bit of tilt. The entire sculpture has a little bit of tilt. It has a little bit of risk involved in that, and I'd like that. As it is right now, we're 98% finished with the assemblage of it. I still have to build the second floor deck. So I definitely like the front view the best. I enjoy all the other views. I don't like the double Y, but that was a mistake. Why, you ask? I don't know why. So maybe it wasn't really a mistake. Maybe that's just how it is. So, there we go. So what we have to build next in the morning, because we're basically running out of time, because with all these things, there's an envelope of wetness, dryness, and we're right at that point where we really need to get all these things built and assembled. I could drag it on by adding water, trying to keep it wetter, but I don't really want to add more water to it. Don't want to get it wetter, because if I do that, there is a slight possibility of losing detail. So we're not going to do that. We're going to get it done. There's just a matter of building the deck that goes off this door and window here. Kind of hard to see that, but there it is. So anyway, we're going to build it the same fashion like we did this. We're going to get a metal handrail for this down the road, which we'll make out of wire, and we'll patina it, and we'll solder it together, and it'll be exciting, right? Anyway, we're getting really close to having this finished and ready for underglazes in a couple of weeks probably. It will be a slow drying process. One of the other reasons I wanted to get the roof on tonight is because I had to use heating techniques to get the roof texture right, and it's now drier than this, so I want to get it in the same envelope so they start equalizing again, so they get the moisture back, equalizing, so the entire piece dries in the same uniform slowness. So by putting it back under this particular plastic, it will slowly seek its own equilibrium. This will probably never attain the same dryness. This will probably be always a little drier than this because it's up here and all that, but at least it'll have a better chance of drying evenly and staying well attached. All right, so tomorrow we make the second floor deck, and if we're lucky, we'll get that installed. All right, stand by. Just finished this sculpture, well, the construction of it at least, called Blockhouse 1. Hope you guys enjoy it as much as I enjoyed making it. A lot more to do from here. It has to dry and get colors and glazes and firings and handrails made and all kinds of other things before it's ready for sale. Anyway, thought you might want to see what's been going on in the studio this last couple of weeks. I thought it'd be nice to add a few pictures here at the end of the construction part of the video. I'm looking forward to making the next video where I start the coloring or glazing of the project. So please join me then, and as always, I hope you're inspired by this or learning something new, putting tricks in your own toolbox. And please don't forget to like and subscribe.